The Galapagos Islands, threatened and preserved. In the summer of 2016, I adventured to Ecuador on my EF Tourist trip, charting the Galapagos Islands. I observed how hard the people of the Galapagos work to protect the islands and to contribute to the environment. My observations, thoughts, and the culture of the Galapagos brought me to my question: what are some of the threats to the environment of the Galapagos Islands? In what ways can the Galapagos be preserved? Conserving the environment cannot be more important than it is today. Conservation allows us to preserve the ecosystem and lets nature flourish and thrive, just like it continues to do so in the Galapagos. The conservation of the Galapagos is an important part of the culture of the local communities. Everyone should be made aware of the threats that are endangering the Galapagos and learn ways to help preserve the natural wonders of the world. The Galapagos Islands is home to an abundant amount of remarkable wildlife. This archipelago has been called a unique living museum and showcase of evolution, but this melting pot of marine species is threatened every day by various factors. Scientists and conservationists agree that introduced plants and animals are the greatest threat to the ecosystem of the Galapagos Islands. The new arrival of other species brought over both accidentally and purposefully can cause damage to the native species and environment. Today, 95% of the archipelago's native species remain intact. The Galapagos is made up of a very diverse marine ecosystem, with new species still being discovered. This unique area of marine life has drawn in fishers from all around the world, causing overfishing and illegal fishing to become a major problem in the Galapagos. The actions of these fishers has caused the depletion of commercial fish, the destruction of marine ecosystems, and the crippling of communities that rely on fish. The Galapagos Islands are famed for the unique endemic species that Charles Darwin studied, and where he developed his theory of evolution. This well-known archipelago continues to bring in over 170,000 tourists every year. The booming tourism industry employs over 40% of the local residents and generates an annual $418 million. On the other hand, the famed archipelago attracts visitors that threaten the ecosystem with introduction of invasive species, an increase of imported goods, more fossil fuels, and the migration that leads to overpopulation. Increasing human pressure on the fragile environment becomes a potential threat to conservation and local sustainable development. What are some of the threats you saw in the Galapagos, and what should we do about these threats?
The biggest threat to the Galapagos Islands is reckless tourists who don't understand the impact of the things they do around the animals and to the animals, like touching them or feeding them or leaving their trash around, because in the Galapagos the animals are allowed to roam free wherever they want to, so they could be on the sidewalk or on benches or in the street, for all we know. And I think they should put a penalty on tourists who touch or mess with the animals.
The Galapagos is home to an extraordinary amount of endemic species and is teeming with life. For over 50 years, local communities and organizations have helped protect and conserve the Galapagos and paved the way for future generations to continue preserving this archipelago. The Galapagos Islands are visited by over 170,000 people every year. Ecotourism allows the visitors to conserve the environment, sustain local communities, and have a greater understanding and appreciation for nature. The strict guidelines and procedures allows the environmental and cultural integrity of the Galapagos to stay intact, all while welcoming thousands of ecotourism visitors every year. Educating all ages in an informative and accessible way is the best chance of engaging audiences to support future initiatives for conservation. Learning about conservation encourages people to take action and become more responsible of their decisions to protect the environment. Human development is fairly new to the unique archipelago, with fragile and underdeveloped infrastructure putting pressure on the environment. Sustainable development is a way for human development to continue growing without having a negative impact on the environment. Along with sustainable development, the Galapagos is promoting sustainable ecotourism for other areas to follow in their steps. Why do you think protecting the Galapagos is so important? What did you witness that showed the conservation of the Galapagos?
So I think it's important to protect the Galapagos just because the ecosystem is very unique. It's one of the few places where you see the array of animals there interacting as they do. And some of the ways that I witnessed conservation were, the ecotourism, the recycling, reusing of materials, and also carpooling.
My trip to Ecuador allowed me to be a part of their unique culture. On the night before we left, our group leader informed us about how there had recently been an earthquake a couple months ago in the country. He let us know that we could donate any spare clothes, soap, shoes, or anything we didn't need to people who lost almost everything in this tragic disaster. Our group contributed anything and everything that we didn't need. We helped preserve the environment by reducing waste, donating items for reuse, and recycling our old products. Even in a way as small as this, I felt like I was a part of their culture. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Jane Goodall. This quote by Jane Goodall is a reminder to live more consciously so we can create more of what we do want and less of what we don't want for ourselves and our surroundings. The people in the Galapagos choose to make a difference every day by protecting their culture and their home. We should all be more conscientious and make decisions that will impact the world for the better. Everyone can make a difference if we all just try. The Galapagos Islands are a unique place that are in desperate need to be protected from factors that threaten to destroy the pristine environment there. Factors like the introduction of invasive species, overfishing and illegal fishing, and tourism threaten to harm the ecosystem that is already fragile. The unique environment can be preserved through ecotourism, educating others about conservation, and sustainable development. Threatening factors will continue to be there, but protected and conserved, future generations will be able to appreciate the beauty of the Galapagos, just like I have. Threatening factors are to the environment as weeds are to a garden. The factors are dangerous. Like in gardens, they are the weeds that are threatening the plants, or in this case, the environment. Just as weeds are not wanted and grow vigorously unless stopped, the threatening factors of the environment are undesirable and continue to increase until they are stopped. My trip was very eye-opening. It showed me how important conservation is, not just in the Galapagos, but also back home as well. My trip has changed the way I look at nature, allowing me to incorporate some of the things I learned into my daily life and brainstorm ideas for my community. 2 ideas are to start a club at my high school that goes around and cleans up the community, or find organizations that are in need of more help to replant trees throughout the community. While I was there, I was inspired by the unique ecosystem of the Galapagos and how important conservation was to the locals of this archipelago. I took hundreds of pictures and listened to what the different guides had to say. All of my research and observations led me to my conclusion. It told me that there are always going to be threats, but if we protect the environment there, we will be able to preserve it for future generations. If we continue to protect the Galapagos Islands from threatening factors, then the unique environment will be preserved and the threats will gradually decrease.